cartels have been fighting for power and control over Mexican drug trade for years. Cartels not only fight with each other, but they fight with police forces and militaries. Cartels use extreme violence and fear to stay in power. However, the military forces use their sophistication and high military-powered weapons as their source of power. But what if you were to combine both of these strong suits and get the best out of both worlds? Well, see, that's what Los Zetas did. In this video, I'm going to break down how Los Zetas became the most feared and violent cartel. So grab yourself a coffee or an orange juice and let's get into this. Warning: the following video contains a lot of crazy shit. Okay, but on a serious note, I kinda had trouble making this video because a lot of the topics and events that are discussed are very violent, very graphic, and just hard to listen to. So, viewer discretion is advised. If you don't want to watch it, you can click off the video. If you do want to watch it and you're kinda scared, you can grab your mom. Okay, I'm just kidding. But yeah, there's a lot of heavy topics discussed in this video, so just be warned. In 1997, Los Zetas were born. A man named Osil Cardenas Gulian, I'm sorry, that's not how you pronounce his name, needed an army to fight with his cartel. See, Osil was the leader of the Gulf Cartel, or the CDG for short. So Osil hired a retired military lieutenant known as Arturo Guzman de Sena, who went by Z1, to assemble a group of men that could help with the CDG's dirty work. So Arteo went off and recruited the most violent, deprived military men he knew. He offered them a lot of money that they would never make in the military and sold them on the cartel lifestyle. Crazy enough, most of these men were trained in the USA. Keep in mind, these men were former military men, which meant they were fighting against the cartels in the past. This means they knew how the cartels operated and used this knowledge to assemble themselves. They also had military training, which other cartels never had. This meant they were sophisticated killing machines. But instead of using this to protect the country and protect the flowers and the beautiful people, they use this for evil. Los Zetas means the Z's in English. Arturo's code name in the military was Z1. So every time they called him on the radio, they said Zeta Uno. The members would go by code names like Z2, Z3, Z4, Z5, Z6, you get the point. In a way, this was very sophisticated, as if Z1 was to be arrested or taken out, Z2 would become the leader, and their cartel would continue like nothing happened. This is how Los Zetas got their name, as they referred to their members as Z. Los Zetas quickly changed the way cartels operated in Mexico. Previously, cartels were indeed violent and powerful, but they didn't have the sophistication Los Zetas had. Other cartels had to quickly adapt, as they used to fight similar to street thugs with guns, knives, brooms. Well, Los Zetas were sophisticated military men who fought with military-grade weapons. Obviously, this scared the shit out of other cartels and left them no choice but to adapt or die. At one point, not even the police had weapons like the Los Zetas had. This quickly made Los Zetas realize the power they had and how they can take over the drug trade in Mexico. If this wasn't bad enough, Los Zetas realized something else too. They realized the more brutal they were, the more fear they instilled in their rivals. Los Zetas started giving out medals for members that were the most brutal. Everything was going well for Los Zetas as they were basking in their power. However, a couple of hiccups were waiting for them down the road. In 2002, Arturo, the leader of Los Zetas, was killed in a shootout with the Mexican military. Arturo was out at a restaurant eating tacos and enjoying some tequila. When he was going to wrap up the night, he decided he was going to visit his mistress, who was just down the street. Arturo ordered Los Zetas to protect him as he goes to her place. Unfortunately, the military was one step ahead of them and ended up shooting him as he left the restaurant. Also, the leader of the Gulf Cartel that Los Zetas was working with was arrested. Typically, when leaders of a cartel are taken out or arrested, the cartel starts to fall apart. However, with Los Zetas, there was no sweat. When Z1 was taken out, Z2 just took over. It's that simple. Los Zetas split apart from the Gulf Cartel so they could operate as their own entity. This worked out great for them, but shortly after, the Gulf Cartel got super pissed off. This started a war with Los Zetas and the Gulf Cartel. At one point, Los Zetas took out 73 undocumented immigrants as they thought they were associated with the Gulf Cartel. Another time, Los Zetas took out 193 people for a similar reason. Not only did Los Zetas take them out, but the bodies were badly tortured and the women were taken advantage of. And the men were forced to fight one-on-one with machetes and hammers. And the winner of the fight got to join Los Zetas. Los Zetas members stood by watching the fights, laughing and cheering. It was fair to say Los Zetas are animals and stop at nothing to instill fear in others. A few months later, Los Zetas set a casino on fire in Monterrey, killing 50 people. The only motivation behind this was the casino didn't pay their protection money. Later in 2014, they took things a little too far. They suspected two men from a small town in Allende had stole money from them. Instead of just going after the two men and being like, hey, give me my money, they went after the whole town. They raided and destroyed the whole town. They ended up taking out just under 500 people. Not taking out of the town, they killed 500 people. Los Zetas also used horrific torture methods to deal with their rivals. They used kitchens where they would cook humans alive. This method was even more disgusting as they would pour gasoline on their victims that would burn slower, making the torture even worse. Eventually in 2012, the leader of Los Zetas was gunned down by the military. A man named Miguel Angel Trevino Morales took charge. Miguel took violence to a whole nother level. He definitely had something sick about him because he had a hunger for violence. Miguel would drive around Mexico with his henchmen and point out a random pedestrian and be like, hey, kill this guy. One of Miguel's henchmen said if Miguel didn't kill someone at least once a day, he couldn't sleep at night. He would kidnap his victims' children and boil them alive. Pretty disgusting. Miguel would also recruit children as young as 12 years old and teach them the ways of the cartel. He would call these children little Zeditas, or little Zetas. He would get them to attack other cartels and train them to be assassins. Miguel also started recruiting even more twisted individuals who would do this dirty work. Eventually, Los Zetas shifted from once this sophisticated military-style cartel to just a group of psychopaths who were doing the devil's work. Los Zetas have also expanded into other countries. They have ties to Guatemala, Colombia, and even Italy. Los Zetas have a strong influence inside prisons as well. When a member of Los Zetas gets locked up, they reunite inside and control things from within the prison. This also helps them recruit new members as they affiliate with other gangs and prisons. There has also been members of Los Zetas that were arrested and sent to prisons in places like USA. From there, they're able to make new gang members and try to persuade them to join Los Zetas. This then expands their international reach as they have Los Zetas members operating in the USA. This, however, makes Los Zetas a big mark for law enforcement. At one point, police raided the 3 safe houses that belonged to Los Zetas, and they seized 540 firearms. Along with this, they seized 300 explosives like grenades and rocket launchers that are used to take down rival aircrafts. This is setting a new record for cartels, as even though cartels have always had a lot of firearms, Los Zetas are on a whole nother level. Los Zetas are heavily on both Mexico and United States police radar as they operate in Mexico, but usually import their goods into the United States. The United States even put a bounty on Los Zetas leader Miguel, offering anyone $5 million if they have information on his location. Eventually, Miguel was arrested. Despite Los Zetas being so powerful, they have their problems that started to hurt Los Zetas. First off, when Los Zetas lost their leader Arturo, then later lost Turbito, Los Zetas took a massive hit. Despite making Miguel their leader, Miguel lacked a lot of the structure that Arturo had. See, Arturo was very violent and ruthless, but he maintained discipline within the cartel, so they operated efficiently. Unfortunately, Miguel maintained the ruthlessness, but he didn't maintain the sophistication. Miguel also started recruiting people who he saw was twisted enough to work with Los Zetas, but a lot of the members didn't have the military background like the members recruited when Los Zetas started. When Miguel was arrested, this sent a message to Los Zetas that even though they are powerful, they aren't as untouchable as other cartels, as they lost 2 of their leaders in a shootout and lost Miguel to the police. This scared away a lot of other potential recruits, as Los Zetas showed that they have a vulnerable area to law enforcement. Los Zetas showing this vulnerability made other cartels move in harder and not be so scared of Los Zetas. One of these cartels is the CJNG. Despite CJNG being heavily influenced by Los Zetas, they brought it to a whole nother level, and now are a lot more powerful than Los Zetas. This caused Los Zetas to take a massive financial loss as they were losing their drug territory to other cartels, which made Los Zetas pay their members less and less. This made a lot of the Los Zetas members leave the cartel and make their own cartel or join other cartels. As of today, Los Zetas is very fragmented. There's a lot of different factions of Los Zetas, but they weren't united like they once were. Despite the Los Zetas not being as powerful as they once were, there's no denying at one point they were the most powerful cartel and changed the way cartels operated forever. Cartels now try their best to mimic the paramilitary style cartel like Los Zetas. An example of this is CJNG. They look almost identical to Los Zetas, but Los Zetas as an organization lost their way. Thanks for watching, have a nice day.